We'll start by taking refuge. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I go for refuge in the Buddha. I go for refuge in the Dharma. I go for refuge in the Sangha. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. So we will begin with our typical 15 minutes of seated meditation. But in advance, who is chanting the name of the Buddha? Chant the Gatha on opening the sutras. This Dharma, incomparably profound and minutely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, hold and maintain it. May we completely realize the true mind of all Buddhas. Okay. Relax, sit comfortably, have a cold beverage. Seltzer is the beverage of choice for this evening. And let's listen to the Dharma from our friend Robert.
Hey there, everyone. Nice to see you, Unsan, and all those out in internet land. And of course, in the worldwide community, even those who are not tuned in, we're tuning into you. Well, a little bit of a long winding analysis. So I have a little quote, which I'll start with and then get back to, from the Venerable Huang Po, or Huang Bo, as you like. One of my favorite quotes: "I will let go with both hands," so they're both here, not holding on. "Then surely I will see the Buddha in my own mind." So with that in mind, say a few words about the teachings of the great teacher known as the Buddha. There are a few different explanatory systems in Buddhism to explain why we experience the unhappiness called dukkha, highlighted by the Buddha. And there are the cycle of 12 factors which lead to death and rebirth, cyclic 12 factors, and other explanatory vehicles. But I'm looking at the one that goes along with this quote in particular. The unhappiness that the Buddha talked about, this called dukkha, seems to underlie our human experience almost at all times. And at the times that it doesn't underlie our experience, it may still be there in subtle form. The Buddha said that dukkha was pretty much prevalent in human experience. It's even when it's in a subtle form, it's kind of the extra ingredient that makes the soup taste not quite right, even if it's a very nice, tasty soup. Dukkha is often translated as suffering, which is true and a dramatic way of translating it. But if you look at its application in the variety of areas in which it's mentioned, it seems that this basic unhappiness has a range that goes along a spectrum, from a mild underlying kind of discontent or dissatisfaction, which a lot of us feel a lot of the time, to psychological patterns that cause suffering, neurotic patterns in our lives and relationships that cause suffering, all the way to really horrible despair and torment, depending on the situation of the individual. And all of these levels of suffering on the spectrum are taken into account in the idea that dukkha is a central factor in human life. And Buddha also included in suffering, although we sometimes distinguish pain as separate from suffering, and that's kind of a popular distinction to make in a lot of circles. But Buddha included both physical pain and disability and loss and our psychological reaction to it, all within the spectrum of dukkha. And he distinguished the inevitable physical suffering and the kind of inevitable frustration and discontent that we may feel with circumstances that are out of our control. That was contrasted with our psychological reaction to it. And we have a higher mind that's very reactive and that's able to take something that's painful and make it a lot more painful. That's a great talent that we have. And he distinguished these two in the analogy of the two arrows or the two darts, which you may be familiar with. A man or a woman is shot with an arrow, and instead of taking the arrow out, they get upset about the fact that they were shot, want to find out who made the arrow, who shot the arrow, why they shot it, why they're picking on them, how come they don't like them, and all the things that we normally think about, instead of taking the damn arrow out and, you know, taking care of the wound. So we take our physical problems and we have a gigantic edifice of psychological pain, you know, generated on top of it with our own minds. And so you can't say that all suffering is generated by the mind, because the physical pain, and some of us have chronic conditions, and we know that pain is painful, and it causes a kind of, you know, inevitable base level physical suffering. But if you ever analyze the pain that you have and what's making it hurt and making it cause you to suffer, there's always an element of reactivity in it. And if you are able to, theoretically, remove the reactivity from the pain, you would just have sensation, and it would be easier to handle. So basically, the point of the two arrows is that we can't avoid the suffering of physical pain, disease, ultimately death, all of which are ingredients of dukkha, nor, I would say, the basic psychological pain at the moment of losing loved ones and ultimately the thought of losing ourselves. But we can have a relationship to psychological and spiritual pain that causes less suffering and allows us to live life with less unhappiness. Now, you can't just try really hard to say, I'm going to release my psychospiritual suffering and I'm not going to suffer anymore. That doesn't really work. So we have the whole practice in Zen of growing awareness, letting go of clinging, and letting go of unhelpful mental states and unhelpful actions in order to facilitate this process, because the mind does tend to cling and magnify whatever experiences we're having. And in addition to our practice, there are special practices, remembrances and meditations in which we can confront difficult thoughts and feelings, such as the Buddha's system of Satipatthana, in which we use mindfulness to look at the arising of thoughts and feelings and see which ones are beneficial and which ones are causing more agitation, and through awareness to be able to watch these go through their cycle and release them rather than magnifying and exacerbating them. That level of the mind is sometimes called proliferations, or that function of the mind, sometimes called proliferations. Not that frequently, and it happens to be a term that I really like, because proliferation means that you are taking something that, you know, may be the size of an acorn, and you are personally growing it up into an oak tree and making it into a gigantic suffering edifice. But through these meditations and exercises, we can allow them to work on them and have a little less impact, or even to lessen their presence through awareness and letting go. The root of all this suffering is said to be clinging, not only to individual things that we want to keep and clinging to getting rid of those things that we have aversion to, which is another form of clinging. We keep our experience exactly the way we want it, which would be really nice. Have a permanent party with only the things we like and without any of the things that we don't like. And all the people we like would always be there, and all the people that give us a hard time, you know, wouldn't be around. That'd be a kind of an ideal platonic universe. But it's not like that. but we can work with those things in such a way that they don't have as much psychospiritual impact, even if we can't get rid of our pains and illnesses. So the root of all this suffering to individual comings and goings and this and that is said to be clinging to a false sense of self, which needs to have the things that it wants and needs to get rid of the things that it doesn't like. And that's our own sense, our own isolated sense of identity, and our own identity with our individual organism, as if we're on our own, separate from everything else in life. And our sense that, we have to protect and serve ourselves at all times, and that other events and people are potential challenges to what we need in order to survive on the egoic level, which is to feel that we're doing well and getting what we need. A lack of acceptance of the natural course of human life kind of comes along with that sense of an isolated self that we would like to be permanent and to survive all problems, with its frustrations, life with its frustrations, complications, and eventually personal extinction. So clinging to what we want and denying what we don't want, clinging to the sense of the self that should be able to have its way at all times, be in control and keep bad things from happening, heightens the whole system of suffering, since in fact we can't really control anything. But we can have a helpful relationship to reality and take actions that make things a little bit better rather than a little bit worse. When we cling to that which can't be controlled or kept from unraveling or disappearing, we create dukkha. We intensify dukkha, various kinds of intensified suffering, and those clinging sufferings fall into the realm of the Buddha's second arrow, what you could call, in a rather glib way, the unnecessary suffering caused by clinging and our unhappy reactions to inevitable change and loss. In the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, Buddha pointed out that we should not consider the experiential elements of the body, mind, and senses to having or being a self. In other words, a unified controlling entity. But that rather these elements of experience, even though they appear to us as individuals, they're really things that arise due to conditions, and they're not anything that we are or could ever be in charge of. If there's anything unconditioned that we can take stock in, and the Buddha sometimes referred to the unborn and the unconditioned to suggest a deeper level of awareness or experience that's beyond that egoic clinging, and said that by letting go of our clingings, we might be able to experience this foundational of experience. This level of experience is definitely not contained in the skandhas, those 5 elements of human experience that take into account everything that we see, hear, think, and feel. To let go completely means that we completely relinquish control over the moment and accept it exactly the way it is. No more struggle, no more fighting, no more worry. Back to our perfect universe, things are just exactly the way they are. And of course, no one can do that. It's more or less impossible. So how do we do it? If that feeling of clinging is synonymous with the feeling of suffering, it's like you're holding on to something while it's being ripped away from you. You're trying to control it while it's getting out of control. It's kind of like drowning in reality and trying to stay afloat. So that is why Huang Po says, I will let go with both hands, which is a very powerful metaphor. The metaphor is, that extra little holding on that we do, even if we have a practice, just in case it's not safe to let go, or there's something that we might be able to keep from changing or going away. That little extra holding on, that little extra holding on that we're doing, we have to let go of that too. So Huang Po starts out with this basic operation of letting go so that you're no longer suffering from clinging. And then that secret little extra clinging is represented by the second hand. You have to let go of that too. So you can kind of feel that holding on that we do in the belly, in the emotions, in the body, in tension, the desire to control reality and make sure that nothing bad happens to us. Bad things happen anyway, and we adjust, and that's the course of life in samsara. And the message of the Buddha is, let go. Dukkha is caused by holding on to that which cannot be controlled. And that goes back to the five skandhas again. They are our actual experiential mechanisms, but they can't be controlled, and they don't really come from us. They really come from conditions. Everything that happens is going to happen anyway, but we don't have to spend our lives in a tense, anxious, crazy kind of configuration. Through practice, we can deeply understand that we're not in charge of the flow of life, that we're part of the flow. And we can even enjoy being part of the flow and enjoy letting go and actually going with the stream instead of trying to cling, even if we hit some rocks along the way. And that's a big part of practice. When you realize that you're really part of the stream, not a separate little particle navigating along on your own and trying to control your journey, then maybe you can let go with both hands, or at least maybe one hand at first, and then try out the second hand and see what the ride is like. We're not the boat, we're the ocean, to coin a metaphor. The boat is temporary, the ocean seems to be permanent, a permanent flow of change. To be part of the ocean is to see that our nature is the nature of the universe, not the nature of a tiny little frightened person, although that's what it sometimes feels like. But it's hard to see that if we're hanging onto the side of the boat, terrified of being dumped into the ocean. So letting go is cool, letting go is great, letting go is the best. We're back in our perfect universe again, where we can let go with both hands. Cowering in the boat is not as much fun. Going swimming and getting back in the boat is better. Realizing that we're not the boat as opposed to other boats, but that we're really part of the big wide ocean is even better, giving us more spaciousness and freedom, even when we're in the boat, looking out at the ocean and saying, I'm part of this beautiful ocean. I'm not an isolated little particle in this little boat. So, great, perfect universe of letting go. But what happens with that extra clinging that we have a hard time letting go of? Why is it so hard to let go with both hands? It's hard to trust the flow of life, let go of the egoic sense of isolation, and just go for the ride, accepting whatever comes down the stream. Even though we know everything's going to happen anyway, we feel much safer staying in the boat and holding on really tight with at least one hand. And we can go swimming on the side if we keep holding on with one hand, but it's really hard to swim. And it makes it harder to enjoy our excursions and to enjoy the big scary ocean. So what do we do? So this is a little extra idea because clinging, I don't know about you, but I find it difficult to let go of to some extent. Maybe I can let go completely 70% of the time, maybe not the other 30, or maybe I'm lying about the percentages. So let's say we are the river and we hit a big rock and get stuck there, and we're just holding on for dear life. And we're afraid to let go. We're stuck on that rock. So allowing for the idea that we're still part of the river, but that we are stuck and clinging to this rock and we're afraid to go back in the river. How do we embrace being part of the river? And there's an idea that whatever comes up, if we embrace it and accept it, that we can allow it to work itself out and to let go. So what we do is we embrace the stuckness. We embrace the clinging, and we find the next level to let go of, which is to let go of wanting to let go. If we can't let go of something, if we're afraid or unhappy about something to the point where we're stuck and we can't let go of it, we embrace and accept the stuckness, which is not easy, but we look at letting go of not letting go. If we can't let go, we accept it and let go of not letting go. Embrace not letting go. And if we really focus on not letting go and realize that we're just not ready in a particular area to let go, then allowing for that and fully embracing the not letting go is in fact letting go. So we find a place to chip away at our own clinging and to let go of the desire to change the clinging, which if we keep on fighting with ourselves and keep on trying to make ourselves let go, it just makes the clinging more intense because we're clinging to letting go. And that is really a convoluted configuration. And it may sound like I'm just creating a big conceptual mess, but I think it's a very, very common experience. You know, I'm supposed to be advanced. Why can't I let go of this? How come I'm dwelling on this? Why can't I let go of that? But, you know, we're human beings and things still hurt us and bother us. We go back to things that are unresolved in our minds and find ourselves clinging to various things. Instead of saying, I shouldn't be doing that, I have to let go, you know, I'm going to force myself to let go. We say, oh, this is what's happening. I'm going to let go of trying to change this clinging and really look at it. Let me work with the clinging and let go of trying to be the guy in charge again. Not only do I want to be in charge of, you know, letting go, I want to be in charge of not letting go and pry my little fingers away from whatever I'm holding on to. And it's a much more compassionate practice to look at what we're holding on to and why we're holding on and kind of breathe into that and make that our meditation object, rather than saying, you know, I'm a bad meditator, I'm stuck. So what if we do that and we really accept our own human frailty and all the places that we cling and all the things that we're averse to and don't want to have? And, you know, I like vanilla and I really, really, really don't accept chocolate. And we allow for all of that and work with it so that we can gradually let go. You know, letting go could be, okay, they're serving chocolate today and I really wanted vanilla. Maybe I can work with letting that go and, you know, work on enjoying the chocolate. But it may not happen immediately. I may still have some residual unhappiness about it. So I can work with it and I can work on letting go without trying to force myself to let go of what I can't let go of, or to think I'm going to create more suffering by trying to fight with the clinging. And if we accept that very human configuration of not yet being Buddha, and one famous teacher said that even the Buddha wasn't 100%, that somewhere out there, the Buddha is still out there practicing. He's still working on it. And if we accept that, then how does that change our relationship to other people? If we can accept our own stubborn clingings and places where we're stuck, maybe we can be a little more patient and a little bit nicer to those who are stuck around us and think, why are these people so unreasonable? Why are they stuck on something this silly? I would never be stuck on something like that. And anyway, these people like chocolate and I like vanilla. That's crazy. So instead of that, we say, oh, you know, they're human just like me. And they're going through the same clingings that are causing dukkha. We're all in the same, I want to say we're all in the same boat, but that's really messing up my metaphor. We're really all in the same ocean, but we have our own boats in my metaphor. So So we just keep going. We keep letting go as best we can. Doing our best is really okay, one moment at a time. And when we're sometimes stuck, we we let it we let ourselves be with that. You could even say, let it overtake us. Embrace the stuckness, embrace the non-letting go and the clinging, and work with it like we would work with any person that we care about. And be that way with other people too. Realize that, the clinging is not going to go away all at once, and keep being compassionate with ourselves and others, and eventually let go with both hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Can you leave claw marks as you're letting go, though?
I think we generally do. I see them everywhere.
Okay. On to the next 15 minutes of meditation. How many grains of sand are there in the Ganges River? the Mahaprajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when practicing deeply the Prajnaparamita, perceives that all five skandhas are empty and is safe from all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease. Therefore in emptiness, no form, no feeling, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth, until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth, until no old age and death, and also no extinction of it, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The bodhisattva depends on prajnaparamita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far apart from every perverted view, undwells in nirvana. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on prajnaparamita and attain anuttara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know that prajnaparamita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and is true. So proclaim the Prajnaparamita mantra. Proclaim the mantra which says Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. We'll do our dedication of merit, and I've got a couple of people, and you can add in whomever you would choose to dedicate merit to in some of the blanks. All sentient beings are one seamless body and pass quickly from birth to death. We remember those who cared for us and are gone, those who are ill, those who are at war, who are hungry and who are in pain. May they heal and have peace. We especially dedicate our service to Richard Colmar, Thomas Bishop, Nathan Sinisuk, Mike Gingy Wood. And would you care to dedicate any merit?
Macy.
Anyone else? All beings in the 10 directions, subject to the greed, hatred, and delusions of themselves and others. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna, Paramita. And we'll do our faith in practice vow. I will never retreat and will be firm in my mind in this correct Dharma. I will escape from the samsaric cycle of birth and death, and definitely will see my original face. I will be sure to inherit the life of insight of the Buddha and save all sentient beings. Reverend Hangdal.
Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. Birds and trees and stars and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We practice and recite this for all beings in grateful thanks to our many guides along the way.
And we'll recite the 4 great Bodhisattva vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to help them all. Delusions are countless. We vow to see through them all. Opportunities to awaken are infinite. We vow to embrace them all. The Buddha way is endless. We vow to embody it. Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly by and opportunities to awaken are easily lost. Strive to realize your true nature and do not squander your time by night or day. So, how are you guys tonight?